at face value. But now, I think it will eventually have an impact. But by default, it has no effect. It's even unrelated to the use of Ether on the price of Ether. This might sound strange, but in reality, there's no way they're unrelated. They can't be unrelated. But for now, because intuitively, this is not a cause and effect relationship. It's certainly not a primary cause and effect relationship. A prime example of that is something I'm not entirely sure about. So I apologize. It's the price of Ripple and XRP. Ripple has shown that, and Ripple has shown it for a long time. When people ask about Ripple's activities and the price of XRP, to be honest, for people like us who study Bitcoin, they've never given an answer that's convincing. Now, Ripple enthusiasts. But actually, it's not just Ripple. Bitcoin had that same relationship. I mean, the mainstream institutionalizing Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin. I don't think we can say they're unrelated, but they are unrelated. First of all, directly, they aren't related, right? You saw that, right? The thing about science, how it differs from other kinds of bullshit is, science is based on evidence supported, and the evidence is not based on just one or two things. But when evidence piles up, or when counter-evidence piles up, you have to change your hypothesis. That's the scientific approach. So, the reality we've seen over the past year is that the institutionalization of Bitcoin, the regulation of Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin were unrelated. At least, they seemed unrelated, and the usage of Ether was unrelated to Ether, to the price of Ether. Now then, when I say things like this, it's confusing, right? You might think a prominent Bitcoin bull is changing his tune now, or something like that. But Bitcoin's narrative is actually unrelated to the system. Bitcoin's narrative is based on the premise that the dollar is the representative fiat currency. Since there's no need to list everything else, the vulnerabilities inherent in a representative fiat currency like the dollar. That is the core of the Bitcoin narrative. So to put it simply, the reason Bitcoin's price is rising is because the value of the dollar is going down. So this is the narrative that actually matters. Everything else is just a side story. Side stories? I mean, on the way to that point, things like institutionalization and regulation are all happening along the way. But those things don't have as direct a relationship with Bitcoin as we might think.